Welcome to the fifth video installment of the UFT Web Test Recording and Testing series. In this video, we will be using the script that I've been using throughout the series, and we want to enhance it this time to be able to generate some code from what's called the OIC tool, or the Objects Identification Center tool, and it has several functions or features within it. We're not going to cover all of it, but we're going to go through a piece of it that actually acts like a recorder, but it records one statement at a time, and then you can navigate through your application recording bits and pieces or objects on the pages that you navigate to. It's an interesting concept. We'll be getting into that momentarily. But here's where we are in my game plan. We're now going to be looking at this tool, OIC, which is really UFT's offering of an AI integration tool, a way to integrate AI into application testing. And so this is an interesting feature and function that's made available through UFT. I want you to be able to get a good idea, a good feel for how that works. And as I said, we're utilizing the web test that we've been enhancing, and we're going to enhance it even further, and I'll talk about that more. Before we go back into the UFT IDE, I want to talk just briefly about the last test results we had. I want to remind you that we did have a couple of statements that are really AI statements, and it was the one that was used, or actually three statements that was utilized to actually check what the status of each checkbox was. These were having to do with Logitech, HP, and Bose. And if you look at this screen here that I'm pointing to, if you remember, these were the selections, and we're going to be adding this time code from generating it out of the AI functionality, and we want to be able to create some code for testing the HP option as opposed to the Logitech option. So this should be an interesting task, and as I said, this is a live session, so I don't know what to expect. If I do have some challenges along the way, I will use the magic of video recording and pause it, go off and debug, and come back to you. Hopefully that will save you some time. Don't want to have you to look at this any longer than you have to, but hopefully it will be some interesting and useful information for you as you go off into your testing projects, and hopefully using UFT or a product similar to it. Okay, let's return to the UFT IDE. Let me expand that. And remember, if we're going to do any kind of development or recording of your application, make sure to have that application up and ready behind the IDE. And you saw, if you caught it, you saw that I already have the application open, and what we're going to want to do is something similar to what we did with the Object Spy, but this time we're going to be utilizing AI. And as I told you before, you can access it from here the Object Identification Center, OIC. There's also Object Identification here, but we're not looking at that at the moment. There's the icon where you can select the Object Identification Center here, but we're going to go and use AI, and then we're going to click on this option, AI Object Record. So this one is supposed to give us a recording feature of the AI offering in UFT. Hopefully I said that clear enough for you. Now, let me say one more time about the script, what was already recorded. If you can look at me for a moment, this else if statement here, and I think there should be a third one further down for the bows. This was for Logitech, and these were those check state methods that were utilized, and it's a part of this object process, AI util. So AI util specifying that we want to work with the checkbox object, and more specifically HP, the one that is labeled HP, and here what's labeled is Logitech. And we do a method called checkState to see if it's on or off. And in this case, we're testing to see if it's on. And if it's on, that will cause execution of the proper test subroutine. In this case, Logitech. In this case, HP. So we have this mechanism in place to actually go and execute this routine called HP test. However, we don't have any code inside of it. So until we turn on the parameter, and I didn't mention that more clear enough. I want to be sure you are aware of it. Let's see, I believe it's with the properties. Yes, the properties window over here on the far right. This is showing 3 parameters, param 1, 2, and 3. And these are the ones that when we start to run a test in UFT, those will pop up, and we're allowed to actually set it to some values. And when we do the test this next time, we're going to turn on parameter 2, which will be for HP testing and cause this particular routine to be processed. That is the plan. We hope that we go according to plan. But the first thing we're going to have to do is to move on down to this area, past the Logitech test. We go to the subroutine for HP test. And what we said we wanted to do was to select the product, the farthest one to the right. So we'll be looking for the images that show up. And that's after you click that button for HP. Then checkbox, not button, we should see a limited amount of images displaying. We're going to select the one that's farthest to the right, and then we add to the cart by the button click. And so it will, when we click on that image, we're going to go to another page that gives more detail for that particular product, and we'll then be able to select it to go into the shopping cart. The next thing would be to go to the shopping cart and click on it to cause the checkout page to display. When the checkout page display, we'll want to click on the checkout button that's there, which is supposed to take us to where we either can choose to log in with an existing ID or register to create a new ID and thus complete the checkout process. Then finally, what we're going to do, and as we said, we're not going to go through the complete checkout process. Instead, we're going to click on the home link and return to the home page. So that's the extent of the testing, or that is the scope of the testing for HP test. All right. Now, with all that said, the next thing we want to do is to prepare ourselves. Put the cursor here. We're not yet going to have any code in here. What we have to do is to start that AI process, that record that I mentioned before. And so I should have it on the right page. I should be able to click here, and let's see what happens. We're going to do the object, the AI object record, and here we are. And so what it did, unlike the Object SPI, is it came directly to the application window. And you can see we already have it open to where we need it to be. We want to be able to first click on that HP checkbox. By doing so, it's now inspecting the application, everything on the page, and then it's going to come back and tell us something very important. It's going to tell us basically what has been determined or usable, let's call it items on this particular page. Better yet, objects on this page. Now, if I move this over a little bit, no, it's not showing me that. Okay, notice what it says at this point. You always want to keep in mind what it's telling you is click an object to add a step to the test. So we can either do that, or we got several other options. We can go back to the Object Identification Center. I don't know why we'd do that. We can select application. We can do some settings, or we can just close out, exit this, and go back to the IDE. But notice what you see down below. Notice on the screen you see many encapsulated items. And of course, these are the objects. It has detected all of these objects. Notice it didn't detect the images, but it has detected text links as well as the checkboxes and so on. And so if I go and bring my cursor down to the HP box and hover over it, notice what it does. Notice it tells me it's the HP. It recognizes what it is. And now I can slide my mouse up and set the state. I can click on it. I can do verify. I'm not sure exactly what verify is, but I assume it's something like the inspect, where it would inspect this object to make sure it knows what it is. And I can then simply, click on it. That's going to set the state. I thought I was going to be able to select one or the other, but let's see what happens here, and maybe on the next one we will get it to work like I thought it was going to do. Now, I have gone through this a couple times, so I should remember all this, but it's still not quite clear to me yet. All right, so it tells us, if we go back up to it says step recorded successfully. So it has placed a statement in the code, AI util checkbox HP set state on. All right, that's good. And you can go back over there and look at it. Let's see if I can. I was trying to determine. Yeah. See, you have to move your mouse a little quicker than I was doing in order to get into this window here, and then you can do other functions to check the position, relation, do the click instead, or the set state, either one, edit the value, those sort of things. I'm not sure what all the reasons you might want to do that. I'm just taking it as is. All right, so we have checked on the box. That should cause us to be able to go to the next step. Now, I was expecting to see that up here. What I had before was an option that allowed me to go to actually run that. I don't want to reinspect. I actually want to go to the next step, and I don't see that. I discovered through trial and error that I selected the wrong option. And let me go back to that, display it. I selected the object record, and I'm not going to take away that portion of the video that showed you what happens when you select object record. However, I thought it was going to be what I expected, the recording process, and it's really not. It does record one at a time, and of course you can do several others from that same page, but I wanted the option that allowed me to navigate from that page on through the application. Well, it turns out that it's really this first option, AI Object Inspection. It's not that obvious, but when we get there, we'll see a difference there. So let me click on that now, not wait any longer. We want to get code down in here. So let's go. It pops up this little window that appears and disappears, and hopefully it comes back. Well, actually, let's see. Yes. There, I just saw. It's a little different. Once we get it, I believe I just need to click here, actually anywhere on the screen, so it starts this importing application screen. That's what we want. So it's going through and looking at the entire page and coming up with objects that it detects. All right, so here it is. It's actually on top of the application. You can see the application window is over here, a little bit over on this side. Well, we have now what appears to be an image of the application page, but it shows you what it has detected. Now, you have a scope item here, that's what I call it, but it by default checks to show visual elements. And the visual elements we see now are typically arrows, like this page browse arrow, and the check boxes, but no text. So if I click on text, then that increases the scope of what this tool detects. So this is the AI tool once again, and it's now detecting all this information. All right, what we want to do, the first thing is we want it to make use of this Logitech checkbox. So I'm going to click on that, and now we see that little pop-up that like we saw before, which I can go to it and then just click Add to Test. And I should see, I believe it's down a little lower than this window, but it should be there. And also, I'm going to slide this out of my way. All right, so now what you see here is it tells you the step added successfully. So that means this is what appears in the IDE right now, is this statement: AI util checkbox Logitech set state on. Okay, that's not the one I wanted. I didn't mean to check that, so let me do something. I'm going to check this box and add it to the test. So now we have the one for HP. That's the one we're really going to use. I'll scrap the other one. Okay, now notice this button. It says Run on Application. So if this is checked, let's make sure that it set state. Yeah, set state is on. Right, okay. It should be on. I would be expecting that to occur, but let's see, it may do that on the actual window. Let's click the Run on Application and see if we get what I got the other day. There we go. See, it just checked the HP and it's navigating to the next page. And then it captures that information. And and it is expecting right now. So it's now looking at that new page, and it's going to provide us with visual elements and text. And there we are. Now, I want to do the next test. The next test is to check this guy. Well, the image it did not detect, so I don't worry about that, but I want this information. Now, I will have to modify that information because what it does, well, let me do it this way. I'm going to click on this, add that to the test, and I'm going to click on the second piece of it and add that to the test, because the combination of those two is what I need in order to be able to click on this and cause it to go to the next page. But let's see if it does it for this particular. It says now, steps added successfully. This was the last one with the wireless speaker. And run the application. And there we are. It did go to the next page. It's doing the inspection now. And momentarily, we should see the new page. Great. All right, we have everything that I think we need. And what we need is this button right here. We want to be able to add that to the cart. So we click on this button. Add to text. I think you're starting to get the idea here. So it's actually navigating through the application, and we're generating code at the same time. Tells us again it's successful. And now when we click the Run on Application, then it goes back to the application itself and goes to whatever the next screen. And so now it's inspecting that one, and we'll come back with what it detected. And hopefully we will see what we need to be able to click on. What I'm expecting is to be able to click on the shopping cart. Okay, and there we are. So we also see this, when you see this add to text, okay, where to go? Yeah. Then we should do that. I thought it had already done that. Now we want to select an object, and I believe the object we want is this guy. So we click and add the click to the test, and we should be able to run the application further, and there we are. Didn't take long for that one. Oh, okay, now it's going into the inspection. Watch out for that mouse. Sometimes it will start to move a little sporadic. Right now it seems to be okay. And okay, we should be able to click the checkout button this time. Click that, add to test, and run on application. All right, so now it's going to go to the next page, and that page is the one I mentioned to you before, that it will have one of two choices, either to register a new account or to log in with an existing account. We're not going to go that direction. Instead, what we want to do is to go over all the way over here to this breadcrumb where it says home and click on it. Hopefully that one, it did not show us the home page, or it did not detect the home link. Okay. Might be able to utilize this one. Let's see if that's the case. Yes. All right. This is just as good. It should take us back to the home page. So we add that to the test. Now, I could make a choice here and say, all right, when we go back to the code, we could use the object test and pick up the link for the home page, but this should also be as good. So let's run the application. With that click, it takes us back to the home page. So this is good. All right. And it's going to look at the home page, inspect it. I don't think we need to do anything on this one. We should be able to stop. And as far as I know of, it should be, I should be able to stop by just coming up to this close button right up here, this X box here. Notice how many steps, how many steps it says down at the bottom. If you can read that, steps were added, 10 steps were added to test. All right, so I'm going to close this. And now we're back to the code, to the IDE, and you can see that we have several lines of code. It started out with, now this is what it should have, and I'm not sure why it didn't do that the first time. Normally, what you can expect is that it will want to put that statement right here at the beginning and then continue on with the other code. This is the context statement that is needed. If you don't have it, when you try to test, it will complain that that's missing. And so we're putting it at the beginning, and that should take care of that need or that requirement for AI processing. Now, the next thing is we have 3 statements for the checkbox. We only need 1. However, I don't think we really need to have any of those, because if we take and compare the other test, the Logitech, that's not the first thing we're doing. We're doing a sync, and I believe we want this as well. So I'm going to copy this statement. The next thing we do is we check the image and then determine whether we're going to provide a message on the output. And then we click, is that right? We click on the image. All right. So I believe we have a click for that. Let's see if that's the case. We may want to come back and grab some more code. Let's go down here again. And right here, I'll put that line of code. So we have that sync statement, and the checkbox, we don't need to do that. So I'm going to take these 3 lines of code. For right now, I'm just going to use the edit, format, comment. So all 3 of those are now commented out. And let's see what else is there. Yes, now we have this Bluetooth. I was talking about this. I want it to do a fine text block for this entire. It looked like it only needed this part to do the click. Let's leave it like that for now. It allowed, in other words, we should be able to click either one of these and go to the next page. So I'm going to leave it like this, comment out this one. We don't need both of them. We just need one. And we'll use that one. Now, we had a if statement where we were checking to see if the image was there, and then we produce a report. Let's just grab this guy and scroll back down. Hopefully that's not messing with your eyes. And right, we've got here, we'll go ahead and put in, this is going to be sort of quick and dirty. And this is an image check, speaker image. In this case, we'll just specify it as Bluetooth detection. Is that right? Bluetooth, yeah. Or HPS 9500 Bluetooth detection passed. And what's the next thing we want? To click the add button. All right. Now, if we're going to click this guy, I guess I really should have this. No, that's fine. It can be there. We're going to want to put in a sync statement. The same sync statement, we're going to use it again. Now, one of the things to be careful about is, are we using the same browser name, page name? In the script up here, we have both browser name and page name is a 3, has a 3 tag on it. We may have to do that. For right now, let's leave it be and see if that works fine. Next thing is, all right, we have this. We don't need this statement. Again, we copied it up to the top. So we add, and then we should be able to do another sync just to be sure that the timing is set for the script to be able to process these statements successfully. It's going to go for the shopping cart, to click on it, and then it's going to try to find this value and click on it, and we'll just leave that for now. And then it's going to want to click to go back to the home page. Let's do a sync right here. I think that will be safe enough. Now, notice that the AI commands or statements, they're not using browser name and page name, so we're not certain at this point if these are good. I'll tell you why. If you look at, we're working in the cart test, so we want to look at the object repository for it. And in the cart test, it uses Advantage Shopping, Advantage Shopping 2, and Advantage Shopping 3. However, it's only the one with no number and 3 that has some of the objects defined. So we have all of those objects that we've been using throughout, and now we have this one where it has, these are actually not the ones we're working with for HP. So we may be okay, but as I said, I'm a little concerned about whether it's going to need to utilize one with the tag, at least for the page. And this one is for the browser name, then the page. Is that correct? No, both of these are for the page name. Okay, we'll close that and we'll see if it detects it. You'll know it if it has an error saying object not found or something on that order, then we have a problem. Okay, let's go ahead and see if I think we're ready to try to give it our first test. Let's do a save all. And I check the error count, 0. So didn't make any mistakes there. And what we're saying now, in order to get it to go through this code, we need to, on the start, where we're wanting to run, let me just click this button, since we've been doing that. Now we see that input parameters tab. We need to switch over to that. And also let me communicate to you, if I haven't, this is the output is going to be res 9. So we've run 8 that we've kept so far. We're going to go to the 9th one, and this time we want to click inside here. I'm going to double click so I capture, highlight, and I can type over. I'm wanting to turn that on, telling the script that we want to run the HP test, not the manufacturer test with Logitech. Okay, so click the run, and let's see if we've got working code. Taking a moment to launch the app, and we're in the app now. clicking speakers, HP is selected. We'll click on the S9500 Bluetooth. Oh, it's going through the other test, the filter test. We may have to find a way to turn that off if we want to test without that part. But so far, so good. I also noticed that we already have something in the shopping cart. Shouldn't cause us a problem. It selected it. Waiting for it to click on the add to cart. And then we'll have 2 in there. There we are. So far, so good. And we want the checkout button clicked. Yes. Now we want to go home. And it did. Momentarily, it should complete. I'll wait a couple more seconds. There's the results viewer. It may or may not stay on top. Okay, looks like it stayed on top. Let's expand. Looks like we've got an error. Everything, all the filtering went. Let's collapse that so there isn't so much output to see. Okay, so the check state. Okay. It did this check state. That wasn't, okay, that's good. We need to do something about that. We don't want it to be an error. We just want it to be a warning. Or even letting us know that, hey, it's not on. But everything else looks like it went through. We actually saw it step through, went to the 9500. That passed. It had the HP checkbox checked. And we did the proper syncing. So timing was good, even though you notice it was slow, but still faster than we could do it manually if we did this multiple times. Now, let's see. Yeah, I did the find block, so we don't need both of them like I was talking about. This find, and there was one earlier, find text there. And there should have been one more of those. Here, find text block, the one I have highlighted for the HPS 9500. We didn't have to add the rest of that text into this one. I thought we might, but no. It works by itself, so it's good. So this is a good example of using AI in UFT to actually generate a script. Now, this was a little bit slower generating it, but you're able to utilize it to navigate through the application for whatever pages you want to capture objects on, and you can test them. And of course, you can add much more code where needed. Whatever you need to test on a given page, that can be done. Your script can be modified even further to have multiple actions, but you just need to be concerned about, like I was, concerned about whether you're going to have any problems with the browser name and page name. Sometimes that changes by UFT when it's recording. But so far, it looks like as we were doing using the AI process, it seemed to work fine. We didn't have that challenge facing us. We have a script that actually works. We can modify it further improve upon it. And as I said, there's a little issue here that can be rectified, and you can continue to do testing and increase its capability just like I've been showing you. I'm glad to get to this point. Look forward, there should be at least one more video in this series, and that one's going to cover more about SAP web testing. Thank you for your time. So check out my follow-up demo videos that demonstrate using UFT for recording and testing web applications. The videos should be entitled something like UFT Web Recording and Testing.